What is good, people? Welcome back to another video on 8 Count. In today's video, we got another round of UFC fight picks, this time for UFC 285, which marks the return of the King, Jon Jones, as he takes on Ciryl Gane for the undisputed heavyweight title. As always, guys, if you do enjoy the video, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know your picks for UFC 285. Let's just get straight into it, guys. I'm super pumped for this card. I think from top to bottom, it's absolutely stacked. But we're going to kick things off in the main event, Jon Jones's return, and this time it is going to be in the heavyweight division as he takes on Ciryl Gane. First of all, I've got a load of questions, especially on the side of Jon Jones. I think in terms of Ciryl Gane, he's been a very, very consistent fighter. In terms of his evolution inside of MMA, I think he's gotten better from fight to fight, but is still stuck to the core elements of what makes him special, you know, using the jab and the teep kicks, controlling the range, controlling the tempo. But this time it's going to be an absolutely huge test for him against Jon Jones. In terms of Jon Jones, I think the biggest questions are going to come around his heavyweight frame. Obviously, you know, the end of his light heavyweight reign was a bit weird, to be honest. I think if we look at his sort of last opponents, and his last fight indeed was in February 9th of 2020, so quite some time ago now, and that was against Reyes. And in all honesty, it was kind of looking like Jones was falling off a little bit at light heavyweight, and in my opinion, I thought Reyes took that fight. Before that, he was in a real close one against Thiago Santos as well. But I mean, you look at the man's resume, what can you say about it? I mean, going all the way back to 2010, before he was a champ, eventually taking off Shogun Rua before going on an absolute Legends tour, whooping ass. But yeah, I think most of the questions are going to come about, you know, what is Jones like at heavyweight? Is he rejuvenated? Is he, I guess you could say, more dedicated to the sport? Because I would guess that at light heavyweight, he kind of, the challenges of the names of the challenges definitely went downhill, and his motivation maybe went as a bit with that. I think going up to heavyweight is going to give him a new test. Is that going to motivate him more? I think it will. You know, chasing after that like heavyweight crown. I think something he always wanted. He spoke about it for years and years, but now he's finally doing it. In terms of the frame, how is it going to limit him? How is it going to improve him at heavyweight? I think on here it's saying 240 pounds. I'm not sure where they got that weight from, but in my opinion, I think he is going to come in somewhere around there. Anywhere over 240 would be my estimation. I think he's looking absolutely stacked with his new heavyweight frame. Obviously, he's put on a lot of muscle. But how is that going to affect him? Is it going to take away some of the speed? I wouldn't say Jon Jones was in any way like the most explosive or quick light heavyweight, but he was, you know, pretty decent speed in my opinion. I think in this fight, in all honesty, I think the quicker strike is going to be Ciryl Gane. I think he's absolutely lightning for a heavyweight. His footwork is unique to him, and you know, his ability to dance in and out of range is very special. But for Jon Jones, you know, how is this weight going to limit it? Is it going to improve his wrestling? Is it going to deduct from his sort of cardiovascular system? Is he going to be a worse fighter for putting on the muscle, or is he going to be a better one? I think that's where most of the questions are. In terms of the fight, I think it is an interesting one. You know, I do expect Ciryl Gane is going to have to take the center of the ring at some point in this fight if he's going to want to win. I think if he's up against the fence for too long, Jones is going to have a field day. I think Jones is probably going to take away quite a lot of his weapons as well. Obviously, Gane known for almost, I'd probably say, the best jab at heavyweight. Honestly, I think he's very good. Obviously, he can do it from southpaw or orthodox. But I just see Jones taking that away with certain techniques. You know, is Gane going to be able to land, you know, the sort of kicks up the middle, whether that be the teep or the twist kick? I'm not too sure. But I think when he's at his best, he is using those weapons to kind of dictate the range and the tempo of the fight. Is Jones going to take that away? I think he does, in all honesty. And I think at some point, you know, Gane's wrestling credentials are going to be tested. You know, can he stop the takedown of Jon Jones? If he can't, can he get back up? I don't think he can stop the takedowns, and I think it's going to be a struggle for him to get up. I do think if it goes to the ground, that, you know, Jones is going to have to be a bit more conservative in terms of, you know, looking to posture up. I do believe the athleticism of someone like Ciryl Gane could give you problems in terms of his scrambling ability. Not that we've really seen that, but I think because of how athletic he is, he could make, you know, some big, like, energetic pushes to get up back to the feet. So I think we might have to see Jon Jones be a little bit more conservative in sort of controlling positions before he looks to posture up and land with some ground and pound. But in all honesty, I see this fight. I just find it hard not to pick Jon Jones. I'm going to go with Jon Jones by 4th round TKO. I think there's going to be opportunities for him this fight to potentially get a submission, and the one I keep seeing in my head would be the arm triangle. I just feel like that is something that Jon Jones could lock up on him. The other thing that I'm seeing in terms of TKO, I can see it being kind of similar to the Gustafsson fight. Seeing Gane really using some effort to try and get back up to his feet in like some sort of desperate attempt, giving up his back, and Jon's going to get to the side from there, control of the wrist, and absolutely wallop him with some ground and pound. That's the way I see it. I think, you know, for Gane, this is a huge test. I think it's fair to say he's never fought someone like Jon Jones. It's just going to be such a hard one for me to ever pick against Jon Jones in this fight. If maybe we saw a bit better sort of wrestling defense from Gane, I'd give him a chance. But, you know, I do think if this fight can stay on the feet, it's definitely going to be competitive. I just think Gane's going to have to pick up the pace because Jones is someone who likes to pick individual shots. I just don't see it happening myself. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think though, guys. In terms of the co-main, Valentina Shevchenko versus Alexa Grasso. I mean, this is a great fight. I think the Erin Blanchfield sort of fight is on the horizon for Valentina if she gets through this one. And that will be an insane fight. But in terms of this one, where could Grasso possibly give her problems? I'd probably say it'd be with her hands, using combinations, you know, sort of in boxing range. For her to get to that, she's going to have to get through the kicking range of someone like Valentina Shevchenko. I find that very hard to see personally. I think Shevchenko basically do what she wants in this fight. Obviously, she can't take Grasso for granted, can't afford to stay in the pocket too long with her because of how quick her hands are. We saw her get the rear naked choke finish against, I think it was Joanne Calderwood. Yes, and that was something slightly different for her. I think in her past fights, we've seen her go more towards the decision. But, I mean, you look at Valentina Shevchenko and look at her previous sort of fights inside of the UFC, especially at flyweight, and she's just been dominant. I think if you look at the names of the fights she's fought, you know, no one's really tested her up until Santos, and that fight was close. I remember thinking you probably could make a case for Santos in that fight. It was a split decision in the end as well, but before that no one came close. So unless she's taken a massive dip in terms of performance, which I don't think she has, I see her getting the job done in this fight, and I don't see it being all too competitive. I really like Grasso, and I'd love for her to go and win this title, but I just don't see it happening. I don't think she's ever fought anyone like Shevchenko, as Shevchenko has fought plenty like her. I think Shevchenko gets a finish in this fight. I think potentially we could be looking at a submission. I'm not sure if she'll knock Grasso out on the feet, so maybe some sort of TKO stoppage or submission I could see for Shevchenko, because I think if this fight does get to the ground, she's going to be very dominant. I think Shevchenko's ground game has always been underrated. I mean, you even look back to the Juliana Pena fight where she was able to win via submission, and even then people didn't really rate her ground skills, but now I think people are kind of getting onto that, a sort of inside sort of clinch fighting, being able to find trips and takedowns from those sort of positions. Very strong. I'm going to go with Shevchenko, 3rd round, TKO. But yeah, so we'll get on to the rest of the fights now, as I'll get my notepads for the rest of my picks. We move on to Geoff Neal versus Shavkat Rakhmonov. I like this fight a lot. I think on the feet, Geoff Neal can be competitive if he can be at the right sort of distance. I just wonder if he's going to be able to do that. I think at kicking range, Shavkat might have his way with him here, and I think it's only a matter of a time before he potentially finds a takedown on Geoff Neal, gets into these. I don't think he's like Khabib or that Dagestani style in terms of that, you know, supreme ground and pound once they get control. I think he's so, you know, into the little details about how he controls his opponents. I'm a big fan of Shavkat. I think he's a huge favourite on this fight for a reason, and I think he gets the job done. I'm going to probably go for a 2nd round finish here, but I wouldn't be surprised with a decision. I think Geoff Neal has kind of shown as of late. I think the win over Vicente Luque was extremely impressive, but I just don't think he's got the skill set which would be potential title contender or potential champion material, whereas I think Shavkat is definitely that. In terms of the next fight, we got Mateus Gamrot taking on Jalen Turner, and I'm tossing and turning in my head about this fight. I'm a big fan of Turner. Obviously, I think he's like 6'3" at lightweight. He's absolutely huge, and he's someone who uses his reach to his advantage in the way he fights. I'm a big fan of Turner. Mateusz Gamrot, on the other hand, is just relentless. And if you go in there anything under like 100%, he's going to ragdoll you. He's just going to outwork you. I think on the feet, his striking has improved to the point where he can be competitive in certain situations. Against Turner, he's going to have to be careful, of course, of rushing in. If he rushes in with the hands, I could see Turner picking him apart. But the knees up the middle as well from Turner are going to be really important in this fight. I think Turner, if he can keep on the outside, keep his distance, and get the respect of Gamrot early, I like this fight for him. It's a huge test. He's the underdog in this one, but I'm taking the underdog. I'm going with Jalen Turner. Don't prove me wrong. But we'll move on to the, headliner, the start of the main card. Bo Nickel taking on Jamie Pickett. Doesn't have odds for this one, but I'm guessing Bo Nickel is an absolute giant favourite. In terms of Bo Nickel, I'm not someone who's too familiar with his sort of like wrestling. I know his credentials are out of this world in terms of how good he is in that sort of fashion. But in terms of MMA, I think he's going to be a problem for a lot of people. I think his wrestling is going to be so dominant that people are going to, kind of fall to his hands in the end. I think he's got decent power in either hand, decent enough boxing as well. And I think that's where this fight is going to go. I think he's going to knock out Pickett. And Pickett's a guy whose stand-up I actually rate. I just think he's going to be so worried about the takedown that he's not going to be looking for those hands. And I think Bo Nickel gets it done early. I'm going to go with a round 1 TKO finish. We'll move on to the start of the prelims. Cody Garbrandt versus Trevin Jones. I really could go either way on this one. I think if it's a primetime Garbrandt, we're looking at a Garbrandt finish. I think you look at the Thomas Almeida fight on his way to the title. He was special back then, but I think the damage he's taken and the layoffs have really hindered his performance. His chin, he is susceptible to shots, which is a shame. He kind of reminds me of Amir Khan. Someone who was so good offensively, got extreme sort of hand speed, can knock people out at any time. But his problem is his chin isn't reliable, and neither is his defense. Very reckless. It's kind of similar to Khan in that way. I like Jones in this fight, but I'm actually going to go with Garbrandt. I'm kind of talking myself into a Trevin Jones pick here, but I'm going to go with Garbrandt. I think this is a fight that he has to win, or he's probably going to retire, because I think you look at the competition that he's on, and MMA is a cruel game. Kind of similar to Pettis, in my opinion. I know it's very different in terms of, Pettis was in very competitive fights still. Kind of just kept losing against some of the top dogs. So I know it wasn't as vicious for Pettis, but Cody Garbrandt just seems to have lost his way, and that seemed to happen to Pettis as well. And Pettis was my favourite fighter back in the day. And it was heartbreaking for me to watch it, but I can see the sort of same thing happening to Cody. This is a must-win fight for him. I'm going to pick him to get it done. Let's wait and see on that one. This fight I love, Derek Brunson versus Dricus du Plessis. I think what we saw of du Plessis in his last fight against Darren Till was a guy who looked to tire pretty quickly. Obviously, he's got very explosive sort of stand-up, and, he's definitely going to be a problem for Brunson earlier. I understand that, but can he keep the gas tank up if it goes to round 2? Because I think what Brunson has always shown is the ability to go a bit longer in fights, even if he is tired. I think the power always stays with Brunson, and despite his striking being far from prolific, he is extremely dangerous, especially with that big left hand or right hand. I mean, this guy can do it either way, in my opinion. I think he takes du Plessis down at least once in this fight, and I think once that happens, you're going to see Dricus du Plessis. I think we're going to see him break a little bit. I think Till just wasn't right in that fight. I do still rate Till highly, and he was talking about Till not being a proper middleweight. Well, Derek Brunson certainly is. I think Brunson's going to go in problems. This is obviously one which, if du Plessis could get him out early, I think that is very, very likely of him getting him out of there in the first sort of 3 minutes. But I think if it goes beyond that, we could see a Brunson win, and I'm going to go for a Brunson win. Return of the King, blonde Bronson. Moving on to Viviane Araujo versus Amanda Ribas. This fight's close in my opinion. I just don't know how to kind of pick it. Kind of prefer Ribas on the feet, Araujo more on the ground. I'm going to go with Ribas. I do think this is a tight one. I think it's kind of determined in the odds. Amanda Ribas, a minus 120 favourite to a plus 100 underdog in Viviane Araujo. I just think this fight's kind of tough to pick, but I'm going to go with Ribas. The next fight, Julian Marquez versus Marc-Andre Barrial. I always struggle to say this guy's name. I just think it's a 50-50 coin flip. I haven't even wrote down my sort of pick for this, so I'm going to be doing this one live with you guys. I like Julian Marquez. I like his personality. I've never seen someone fumble a bag so big with Miley Cyrus before, but hearsay, I guess you could say. I don't know. In terms of this fight, I think it's one of whoever wants it more on the night's going to win it. I don't think either guy is like levels above either one of them. I think you might see Mark look for the takedowns, which definitely could play in his favor in this fight. But I think the toughness of Marquez is going to give him a problem. I like the Cuban Missile Crisis to kind of get potentially a finish here. I just think he's got more sort of, when the fight gets tough, he keeps going. I think he showed that with Robocop in that fight. You know, he could have quit many times in that fight and chose to keep going. I'm going to go with Marquez, so let me write that. Julian Marquez. So then we move on to the early prelims, and I have 2 picks from this card. I'm going to go with Ian Machado Gary. I'm just really interested in this guy. I think his style's unique, obviously very long and technical in the welterweight division. Big fan of his stand-up. What I'm interested to see is his evolvement of his ground game. Obviously, the Machado name doesn't come lightly, and I think that's from his wife's side of the family. So I'd be interested to see how his grappling develops. You know, what sort of level is he going to be? Because right now, in terms of his striking on the feet, he's very prolific. I think he's a very efficient striker in terms of the way he throws, uses his range to his advantage, which we've seen so many times in MMA where fighters don't do that. I'm going to go with him by however he wants. He's a huge favourite, minus 675. I don't really know too much about his opponent, but I know enough about him to pick him. The other fight I wanted to pick on the card was, I'm going to go with Tabitha Ricci, Baby Shark, against Jessica Penne. I really like Tabitha Ricci, and I haven't seen her for a while. I don't know what's been going on, but I think her style is unique, especially at the strawweight division. Obviously one of the smaller girls, but tons of energy. You know, pretty strong for the division as well. I like her chances going forward. So I'm going to be tuning in early for the prelims, especially for these 2 fights here. But, you know, I think overall you can say there's an absolutely stacked night of fights. Would it have been a bit better if maybe they spread it over the last 2 cards, which were absolute dog shit? Yes, but it is what it is. The return of Jon Jones, the return of King. It's going down this Saturday night. Let me know your picks in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching. Like I said, if you do enjoy it, please leave a like, subscribe. I'll be back with maybe a reaction to this, but if not, we'll be doing our next round of fight picks. Hopefully we do a bit better than last time, because last time out we were 3-7, which wasn't great. But overall, we're 11 out of 21 on the year. So let's hope for some good results this weekend, and I will see you soon, guys. Peace out. Thank you.